Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are diving into something absolutely critical. How do you make sure a massive construction project is built perfectly? We're unlocking Chapter 7, that's Plant, Materials, and Workmanship, from the Industry Bible, Michael D. Robinson's Guide to the FIDIC Red Book 2017. Let's do this.
Now I know what you're thinking. FIDIC contracts? That sounds complicated. But here is my promise to you. We're going to break this down so simply that by the end of this, you could explain it to a 10-year-old. Seriously, we're going to make it easy and fun.
I mean, just think about it for a second. With all the moving parts on a huge construction site, how on earth do you guarantee that everything, every single nut and bolt, is top-notch? There's got to be a rule book, an official playbook for quality, right?
You bet there is, and it's Chapter 7. So here's our game plan today. We'll meet the main players in our quality playbook. We'll talk about getting things right from the start, what to do when things go wrong, and some key rules about ownership and costs. Then we'll wrap it all up with a super simple summary and a fun little quiz.
Okay, let's open up this playbook. At its heart, Chapter 7 really just boils down to the relationship between two really important people on the construction site.
And here they are. On one side, you have the contractor. They're the builder, the one actually doing the work. On the other side, you have the engineer. They're the quality checker, the referee who works for the person paying for the project, the employer. It's kind of like a chef and a food critic, but for a bridge or a skyscraper. This whole system is set up to make sure quality is checked every step of the way.
You know what they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Well, that's exactly what the first part of this chapter is all about. These clauses give us the rules for being proactive and getting it right the first time.
And look how simple this process is. It's just a logical four-step dance. First, you set the quality standard. Then, the contractor provides a sample to prove they can meet it. After that, the engineer gets to inspect the work as it's happening. And finally, you test the finished product. If you follow these 4 steps, you avoid so many headaches later on.
And when we say samples, we mean everything. We're not just talking about a little bag of sand here. We're talking about rocks from the local quarry, steel bars that have been shipped from halfway around the world where you got to watch out for fake certificates, and even gigantic pieces of machinery like transformers or cranes. The whole point is you have to prove every little piece is up to snuff before it gets locked into the project forever.
Now, testing itself comes in 2 main flavors. You've got your routine site testing. Think of this as the daily checkup. The team on site is constantly testing things like the concrete mix and soil quality. Then you have specialist testing. This is more like calling in a brain surgeon for a big operation. It's for the major, supercritical items, and you often need to bring in outside experts to make sure it's done right.
So that's the plan for getting it right. But let's be realistic. We don't live in a perfect world. Sometimes things still go wrong. So what does the playbook say about fixing mistakes?
Right. This is the big one. What happens when the engineer is doing their rounds and spots a problem? A crack in a wall, the wrong type of pipe, anything. Do they just kind of nudge the foreman and say, "Hey, can you take a look at that?"
No way. There is a very strict, formal process with a paper trail. Step 1, the engineer issues an official written notice. Step 2, the contractor has to come up with a formal proposal for how they're going to fix it. Step 3, the engineer has to approve that plan. And step 4, this is so important, once the fix is done, it has to be retested all over again to prove it works. It's a closed-loop system. Okay, so here's the million-dollar question. Who's paying for all this extra work and retesting? Well, the contract is crystal clear. The contractor pays for it all. The fix, the new tests, everything. It's a pretty powerful reason for the contractor to get things right the first time, wouldn't you say?
Almost there, we're just going to quickly touch on the last 2 clauses in the chapter. These are kind of the admin rules, covering who owns the materials and who pays for a few other specific costs.
This is a really big one. The second any materials or major equipment, what the contract calls plant, lands on the construction site, it legally belongs to the employer, not the contractor, the employer. This is huge because it protects their investment. Even if local laws get tricky, this is what the contract says.
And finally, the contract makes it clear that the contractor has to pay for the natural resources they use. So if they need stone from a quarry, they pay the quarry owner. They pay any government taxes or royalties. And they also have to pay the fees to get rid of waste at proper disposal sites. It's all included in their job.
Whew. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. But don't worry, because I've boiled this entire chapter down into one simple, ultimate cheat sheet for you. And here it is. This is Chapter 7 in a nutshell. The first 4 clauses are about getting it right first. The next 2 are about fixing mistakes. Clause 7.7 is all about ownership, and 7.8 covers those other costs. See? When you break it down like this, it's not so scary, is it? So, if you're going to walk away remembering just a few things, make it these. First, quality isn't an accident. It's a process. Second, even though the engineer checks, the contractor is ultimately responsible. Third, being proactive is always cheaper than fixing a mistake. Fourth, document everything. And finally, always know who owns what and when. Master these, and you've mastered the spirit of Chapter 7.
All right, you've listened so patiently. Think you've got it? Let's find out with a super fast 2-question quiz, and then I'll give you a little teaser for what we're covering next time.
Okay, question number 1. At what point does the employer become the legal owner of materials delivered for the project? Think back to that ownership slide.
And question number 2 for you. If the engineer rejects a piece of work, what is the contractor's very first formal step in that rejection cycle?
Okay, pencils down. Let's see the answers. For question 1, ownership transfers as soon as the materials are delivered to the site. And for question 2, the contractor's first step is to prepare a proposal for how to fix it. How'd you do? If you got them both right, you are a Chapter 7 rock star.
So, what'd you think? Was this useful? Did we make it simple? Please let us know. Hit that like button if this helped, or even hit dislike if you think we could do better. And seriously, if you have any questions or want to share your own experiences, drop them in the comments. We read every single one.
And trust me, you are not going to want to miss our next explainer. We are diving deep into Chapter 8, which is all about commencement, delays, and suspension. Yeah, we're talking about what happens when things start to go off the rails. It's a big one.
It is going to be another jam-packed session, so make sure you follow and subscribe so you get the notification. Thanks so much for hanging out today, and we'll see you in the next explainer.